At the first major NATO summit since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, leaders reminded the world of the purpose of this collective defense alliance.
We've reaffirmed that our Article 5 commitment is sacred, and an attack on one is an attack on all, and we will defend every inch of NATO territory.
This was a historic summit. Finland and Sweden's accession will not just increase NATO's membership, but will also double the length of its border with Russia. As Ukraine appealed for more support, the alliance fundamentally shifted its response to Russia and made a strong pledge.
Ukraine can count on us for as long as it takes.
And for the first time in NATO's history, the US military will have a permanent base in Eastern Europe.
Here in Poland, there will be a permanent presence of the US Army, the 5th Army Corps.
I was able to speak to President Andrzej Duda at the NATO summit in Madrid. President Andrzej Duda, thank you so much for speaking to me exclusively here on the BBC at the NATO summit. What are your thoughts about what is happening here at the NATO summit? Have you heard, are you satisfied with what you're hearing? Czy pan czuje się upewniony to, co słyszy na tym szczycie?
Przede wszystkim trzeba powiedzieć, że to jest szczyt NATO, który...
First, I have to say that this NATO summit is for sure of historical nature. Why? Because you can say the following. Green light was given during this summit for accepting into NATO of Finland and Sweden. This is an incredibly important piece of news for the entire alliance, but especially for its eastern flank, because these are the cities of the Baltic Sea region. This is a very important piece of information for Poland. This also will extend the border a lot between Russia and the North Atlantic Alliance. So for sure this is a historic decision. And the second very important issue, all these decisions which are being taken on response to Russian aggression against Ukraine, this is a process which has been going on for some time, of course, but today NATO is taking crucial decisions on strengthening NATO's eastern flank. It is taking decisions on changing its approach to Russia. Let me remind you that according to the previous strategic concept of NATO from 2010, Russia was seen as a partner country to NATO, but of course, as a result of the invasion on Ukraine, this has changed dramatically. Today, Russia is called directly the biggest threat to NATO states, especially to its eastern flank, the flank on which Poland is located, and boosting NATO in our part of the world, in our part of Europe. Today is the element which is being discussed at length here. Here decisions are being taken, decisions which are reflected both in the new strategic concept of NATO, which is being adopted today, but also it is reflected in the joint declaration, which says that the countries in a special situation, those which are particularly involved in helping Ukraine, can also count on certain special and adequate treatment.
President Zelensky, who has your mobile number, who calls you to talk, to get advice, should he be asking for Ukraine to join NATO? Should he be pushing for that? Czy pan Zelensky, który ma pana numer komórkowy, czy powinien pchać, żeby Ukraina była w NATO?
Przede wszystkim my...
First of all, we, Poland, have been claiming from the start, and we are always going to have this position, that the door to NATO, just like the door to the European Union, should remain open to those who want to accede the North Atlantic Alliance. Of course, certain conditions have to be fulfilled, but today, and I also stress that in my speech, which I gave in the forum of the heads of state and government of NATO, I stress that the open door policy has to be maintained maintained towards Ukraine. Of course, today there is a war in Ukraine. Today NATO is supporting Ukraine, and Ukraine is not a part of NATO, but Ukraine has got a clear support of NATO, very strong and very clear, as a country who is democratic, independent, sovereign, and which was attacked without any reason and without any justification in a brutal way by Russia.
But are you frustrated that NATO didn't heed your warnings? You have been warning about Russia for a long time and it fell on deaf ears. Are you not frustrated that it's come to this? Czy nie jest frustracja u pana prezydenta, że to tak długo trwało, zanim NATO zrozumiało potencjał Rosji?
Nie mogę powiedzieć, żeby była we mnie jakaś frustracja.
I cannot say that I feel some kind of frustration. I'm happy that NATO responds in an adequate way to what is happening east of Poland. And let me put it in the following way. From my perspective, from the Polish perspective, this response is satisfactory. Today we have got in Poland NATO troops deployed. Today we have got 11,000 US troops in Poland. Today we have got infrastructure in Poland. And today President Biden announced that U.S. prisons will be transformed into permanent prisons. The President stressed today that the first situation in which U.S. prisons is becoming permanent prisons is happening in Poland through stationing in Poland a 5th Corps command of the U.S. Army. So I can say I'm satisfied because today we feel in a strong way that our security is being boosted. If I can speak about any kind of sad kind of satisfaction when we were warning against Russia, I would refer this more to the European Union, not so much to NATO, because we were speaking that there is a Russian potential in terms of the possible gas domination. We warned that building Nord Stream 1 or Nord Stream 2 gas pipelines circumventing Central Europe, Poland, but also Ukraine, Slovakia and other countries means not only increased Russian domination in terms of gas over the European Union, but it also means a danger to some EU states and a danger to Central Europe, to Ukraine, for example. Unfortunately, this has become a fact and reality in recent months. We were not listened to, and today everybody can see in a very clear way what Russian energy dominance means.
Poland's done so much for the refugees, so much. I saw it myself, the amount of refugees coming and being brought into Polish homes. I wonder, are you worried about the safety of Poland? Do you think Poland is at risk from Russia?
Potentially, you can say as follows. Russian imperialism is something that we have known in Poland historically very well, and that is why we have adopted such a robust stance. That is why we have demanded support from NATO to make sure that the Polish people can feel safe and secure. But this is also why we are making decisions in Poland to adopt a new law regulating the Polish armed forces. This is the Act on the Defense of Homeland. We have increased our defense spending up to 3% of GDP in Poland. That is why we are making purchases, and we want to increase the number of troops in our armed forces in order to boost our deterrence potential. We want the Polish armed forces to be so strong that it would not pay off to anyone to attack us. If we add to this NATO support resulting from our membership of the alliance, we can be sure of our security, because attacking such a strong state with such a strong support would be madness, simply. And it would be doomed to misfortune. And this is what we are striving at in a consistent way, and we are consistently implementing our policy in this respect.
President Andrzej Duda, thank you very much for speaking to us exclusively here on BBC World News. Thank you so much for your time. We'll let you get on. Thank you so much. So we just saw there President Andrzej Duda speaking about the support that Poland is getting, the union of NATO, how important this is for Poland specifically. And he was saying about the sadness that he feels that they had been warning. Poland was among those countries who had been warning about the risk of threat of Russia for a long time, and it was falling on deaf ears. And now there is this sense that if only they'd listened a little bit earlier, if only the international community had heeded what Poland had been saying for a long time now. He even mentioned how at the summit, the last time the strategic concept for NATO was put together, the Russian president was at the summit himself. It was President Dmitry Medvedev. He was at the summit. NATO was talking about partnerships with Russia. And so that kind of sense of sadness that had the international community, had they have listened to Poland a little bit earlier, you hear that expressed by the president as he is here, as he is listening to what Volodymyr Zelensky has said to the delegations here, to the leaders here. President Zelensky asking for more support, for more weapons, for more money, but also the idea that all of the people, the millions of Ukrainians who have been displaced, most of them going into countries, neighboring countries, most of them coming into Poland. It is the situation that the President is discussing here and is making sure that the rest of the NATO alliance, the 30 members, soon to be 32, have an understanding of. President Andrzej Duda, very much like I was saying with him, Volodymyr Zelensky does have his mobile number. They do talk. They met. President Duda is one of those people that Volodymyr Zelensky will call up. They have a strong relationship. Poland and Ukraine historically have such a strong relationship in terms of culture, in terms of history, in terms of language as well. So it's very fascinating to hear him talk about how the warnings that Poland had made had fallen on deaf ears previously, but he is happy to see a stronger NATO, a united NATO, and that is exactly what Jens Stoltenberg wants from this summit.